Hello everyone, this is Logan, and today I thought I would do a review of the iPod Touch 2nd generation. Now I'm doing this for two reasons. One, because I picked it up at a local game store not too long ago, and the other thing is, with all of the hype of the budget iPhone and the iPhone 5S and iOS 7 and all of this, we seem to sometimes, forget how Apple started out. And, well, since I can't, and, even though I can't show off the, initial firmware, I can at least show off something relatively old from the 2008/circa 2009 era. So here is the iPod Touch. In the box originally, the boxes didn't really change much for the iPods. They're a lot more sharp in edges than the 2nd generation boxes. It also has the 30-pin dock connector, which actually has a release that you would pinch to release. I almost thought that I had broken something because I couldn't get it out. It came with standard Apple earphones, not the earpods like you get now, and it had a little cleaning cloth that was wrapped in such a fashion that it looked like a cigarette. And it was even the same color as a cigarette, if I remember. So anyway, let's take a look at the actual iPod itself. As you can see, it has a wireless antenna. However, or actually, come to think, that might be a Bluetooth antenna. I really could not tell. But, this is, well, there for Bluetooth. Now, one thing you might notice that's absent on the 2nd generation model is a camera. That was not released until the 4th generation model in 2010. Also absent in the 2nd generation model, and added in the 4th generation model, is a microphone. Now, that was all fine and great, but when the iPod Touch 3rd generation came out, and to sum the 3rd generation up, it was pretty much this exact same model. Same weight, same size, same weight, same screen, same everything. Only difference is that it had a slightly faster processor, if I remember. It was a higher Samsung processor, back when they did processors, and they kind of, I guess, are doing that now. And also, they added an accessibility thing, and I guess voice control if you plug in the Apple earphones. So anyway, now that's all said and done, let's turn the thing on. This is running iPhone OS, and actually no, at this point it was called iOS 3.1.2. Now this was actually a $5 update. Yes, Apple used to charge updates, but only for the iPod Touch. Updates for the iPad and the iPhone were 100% free. And basically, the idea kind of was, you're paying less. You have this cheaper alternative to an iPhone and an iPad. Alright, you have this cheap alternative, but we're going to charge you for the updates. And, they could be as low as, maybe $5, and they could be as high as $20. So, it's almost, $20, we're almost reaching, like, Mac update territory. Because, Mountain Lion costs, like, $30 or $20, I don't remember which one it is. But, it's, thankfully you don't have to do that now. You can install iOS, you can install iOS 6 on the iPad, the iPod, and the iPhone. You'd get pretty much the same experience, and it would all be 100% free. So, now that we've got that out of the way, let's take a look at what this is like. First thing you might notice is how sluggish this is. For example, this is how long it takes to unlock. Quite long, right? Well, I had another iPod Touch 2nd generation, this exact same thing, except it ran 4.2.1, which is the highest firmware this will go to. And it ran pretty much like a third-generation iPod Touch. So, I don't know if 3.2.1 did something to slow down the processors, or, I don't know, maybe Apple was just waiting till the last minute to speed up the processors, but who knows. Just real quick to prove that I'm not lying, here is the exact same iPod Touch, same Belkin case, same 30-pin dock connector, same everything, running on 4.2.1. So, here's how long it takes this to slide to unlock. Much faster. Oh, and also, just in case you're wondering, no, 4.2.1 did not originally have the home screen wallpaper, or at least not on this model anyway. This is just a result of me jailbreaking and downloading a certain Cydia tweak. So anyway, also, just to prove, see, also the app switcher, that's something that it also didn't come with it. Just to prove 4.2.1, the highest firmware that it will allow. So let's go into the mail. As you can see, not much has changed, except for one key thing to note. If you want to visit a certain email address, for example, let's go to, no, not my Comcast, my Gmail account, go into Inbox, and as you can see, I can only see my Gmail things. There's, like, for example, there's a comment on one of my Tech Time videos. I think he was just saying that my videos were good. And we will know if it focuses. Nope, it's not going to focus. This, apparently doesn't like older iPods. So, so that's the thing. You can't look at these both together, which I think was a very nice feature that they added, I believe, iOS 4 era. Next up is calendar. That's pretty much stayed the same. You know, you can, do a calendar view, I believe, by doing that. And, you know, you can tap on a date, you can see what's happening. Not really much has changed. Photos, also not much has changed. I took one photo, and I used this for reference, actually, because this did not set up out of the box. Before iOS 5 and iCloud came along, you had to plug it into iTunes in order to use the iPod when you first got it. And actually, as you might be able to tell, there's the old iTunes logo. Photos, by the way, hasn't really changed. Of course, you can now... Actually, saying that, but I don't think it has a backward and forward arrow. You usually just have to swipe left and right. But, you can... Who can you send it? What can you do with the phone, email? You can assign as a contact, use as wallpaper, or email photo. Oh, wallpaper! Ooh, we're going to get to that later. But yeah, also, by the way. And, it's interesting, because this, it looks like, you know, something that would happen if your iPod went into recovery mode. But, you could actually, I actually tried to slide the power off, and I could actually get the slider to work. So it must have been, like, slightly on, but it didn't have an OS installed on it. I don't know how that worked, honestly. But that's how that looked. Contacts. That works pretty well. There aren't any contacts in there, thankfully. YouTube, the old YouTube app, before, Google got rid of it in iOS 6. As you can see, I can look at my subscriptions. I guess Classic Game Room did a new video, Gamester81, The Archfiend, Detroit Borg, he does some videos of some iPhones. Oh, there's a channel that I've been meaning to plug. It's called Audioholics Anonymous. I'll get more into that in the video. But, you know, it works much like YouTube. You can do a search for a video. For example, let's do a search for, let's do a search for ponies. That's always important. Oh, no wonder I spelled it wrong. That was clever. Actually, does it have the, I don't know what they called it, but you can, like, hold on one of the keys and it'll give you other options. For example, I think if you tap on an N, it'll give you, like, an N and an Enye. Oh, it still does that. Yep. So, it'll give you a few options, but, you know, then again, you'd be able to get an Enye anyway if you had a Spanish keyboard and it was actually relevant. So, yeah. Stocks works about the same. You can get the stocks for, you know, things such as, like, some of the preset ones here. Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P 500, not sure what that one is. Apple, Google, Yahoo, and it will also rotate into landscape, and that, you know, works quite well. Maps, nothing has really changed, and I may as well quit out of that before it shows off my address. Weather, you can get the weather for Cupertino and New York. You can also add weather things. Hold on. Just real quick, what's the weather? If it's gonna load it. Nope, it doesn't seem like it will. Also, another thing I forgot to mention. There is no app switcher in the iPod. There was no app switcher back then. So, if you would open an app, if you would close an app, it would just reopen back where it started. As you can see, it's just reloading the YouTube app. But the selling point is that it technically kind of worked in that it would open up at the same point that it was at before. So that's nice. So what happens when you double tap the home button? You go into the music app, and I may as well just quick show you that right now. This is the music app. Quite a bit has changed, actually. For example, if you go into album view, you go to Green Day's Greatest Hits. Wait, was that Greatest Hits? Oh, this is the Ramones. Never mind. I have another thing that's like a Greatest Hits for Green Day. But, you know, this is how it looks. There's no album artwork on this page. Shuffle. I don't remember if you could do that in the new versions or not. I would assume you could. Of course, you can go under Artist. You can go under Song. It looks quite a bit like iOS 5. Before everything became, like, white, and then iOS 7 where it became extremely white. So, you know, let's just listen to some Alice Cooper, just to show off the speaker. The speaker seems to go out of the dock connector, mostly. And it is a very quiet speaker. I'm holding this relatively close to the microphone. But yeah, another thing you can do is go it sideways. I may as well actually stop this just to avoid being sued. You can go sideways and do cover flow. Now this was another pretty big selling point back then. So, you know, you can tap on another album, like, for example, let's go into this Aerosmith one, Ragdoll, that's a pretty good song, and you can switch back to Portrait Orientation and listen to this. So, another nice feature is, even back in 3.1.2, you could listen to it while it was still going, while the app was still out. And if you double tap now, it comes up with a little notification, which I love, honestly. I even prefer it over the app switcher. But you can pause, you can go back, you can go forward to the next song. Oh, this is a good song. And you can go back into the music app. You can pause it. You can do that. It all works quite similarly. What did we do next? Oh yeah, voice recorder. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so here's a voice recorder, but didn't I just say that this doesn't have a microphone? Well, that's true. This is how they got around that. by just giving you a push notification whenever there's no microphone in there. So you would have to plug in you would have to plug in either maybe a microphone or a headset in order to use it. It actually did, when I synced it up to iTunes, it did register that I had something recorded on my 5th generation iPod. It was, in case you're wondering, it was a class I did on Android app development, and to all the Apple fanboys, I will give you some comfort and let you sleep at night by saying I took an iOS app development 1 week later. And the moral of the story is never develop for iOS. Right, here's notes. It works pretty much the same. Let's just type something. The keyboard has pretty much remained the same. Also, one thing I forgot to mention in the music portion is that there was no built-in speaker on the 1st generation. This was the first to have a built-in speaker. And there was not even a volume switch. You had to control the volume either with the music, or you would have to change it in the settings. Or you could get the Apple earphones or headsets or whatever they call them nowadays. What's the earplugs or whatever they're called. I call them pieces of crap, to be perfectly honest, but you know, that's just me. Anyway, but yeah, you could control it like that. So it sort of works a bit like the older iPods at the time, like the iPod Nano, the iPod Shuffle, the iPod Classic, and actually another reason people were waiting for a camera in the 3rd generation, I forgot to mention, is because at that time, the iPod Nano 5th generation actually had a camera, which unfortunately they have since removed. I don't know why they did that, but I don't know, I wasn't really going to buy one anyway. So here's clock. As you can see, it has a stopwatch. It has a world clock. It is apparently 8:19 p.m. in Cupertino. Not even sure where Cupertino is. I think it's somewhere in California. You can do alarms. You can do a stopwatch, timer. It all pretty much works the same. Calculator. That works the same. You can even rotate it to go into scientific calculator mode. Even though, be honest, if you want a good scientific calculator, I recommend just buying a more expensive Texas Instruments thing. So, you know, this does work quite well. It used to be rounded. And in fact, the scientific calculator only came about in iOS 3. And also the more square buttons to make it look more like an actual calculator. So this does work. For example, if I want to do a hard sum, like 5 plus 1, I can be ensured that that is 6. What would we do without modern technology? We have the settings. Ooh, I'll get to that later. We have iTunes, which is still active, even though I think it's not active in the new versions of iPhone, but I very well could be wrong. So, one of the problems with this is that it didn't have iCloud. Well, then again, nothing did at that point. What it actually had was called Mobile Me. Mobile Me only worked with, I believe, the mail, calendar, and contacts, and I think one other thing, but I couldn't remember what it was. And it would back that up. You would have to pay, I think it was $100 a year, something really expensive like that. And it didn't work very well anyway, so most people just said, screw it. Then iCloud came along, and it was a slightly less poo service, even though, to be honest, I don't really care for iCloud very much anyway, because they just give you way too little storage. But, you know, it does work. So yeah, iTunes works, and that also means that I had to re-download every application that supported 3.1.2. That's another thing I'll get to in a moment. And yeah, that was kind of a pain. Settings, as you can see, this is much different than settings used to be. For example, first of all, the on and off switches are different. If we go into, say, something like brightness, and we turn on or off auto brightness, you can see that it is a bit different. Also, auto brightness, that's something they don't have in iPods anymore. Why did they get rid of that in the 5th gen? I don't know. You can also do, Wi-Fi. Quick, get out of that. No! Quick, get out of that before, I don't know, all these people showing off their, I don't know. I'm sure there's probably something risque to be had in there. You can do about and confirm that this is in fact on 3.1.2. Again, this can be upgraded to 4.2.1. And technically can be upgraded to iOS 6, but it's really just a hacked version of 4.2.1, and I don't think any apps will actually support it. Any apps that supported iOS 6 will actually support that. So, here are the wallpapers. Not as nice, in my opinion, as the ones you have now. Here's the Earth background. Now, notice that it's just saving the wallpaper. It doesn't give you the option between the home screen and the lock screen. Because I have it on the home screen, or on the lock screen, but I don't have it on the home screen. So, go back into settings. Also, another thing to note, location services. Yes, you can only turn location services on or off. There's not very much in the way of customization. So, that is a very nice thing. I think that was introduced somewhere along the lines of iOS 4. Next, let's go into videos. Well, there's no videos anyway, so let's just X out of that. Safari. This has changed very slightly, but it technically has. For one thing, we don't have Reader. And the other thing, this is now a plus, and you can only do 3 things. You can add it as a bookmark. You can add it to your home screen, which was revolutionary way back when. For example, as you can see, I just added Google. I can tap to delete. Come on, don't make me look like a liar. There we go. And we can delete that. Let's go back into Safari. So, the other thing, of course, you can do is mail a link to page. You can mail it to somebody, but I couldn't be bothered. So, no Twitter integration, no Facebook integration, no iMessage. Obviously, this was an iPod. Well, actually, they do have it now, but, whatever. Of course, you also have bookmarks, and you have tabs. Now, the same holds true, obviously. It is a 9-tab limit. I only have 2 tabs. That's something I might get to later. Actually, the 2nd tab. But, well, actually, in iOS 7, they're getting rid of that 2-tab limit anyway, so, we can't say that for very long. App Store looks a lot like it did in iOS 5, which I love. I love how this used to look, and I hate how Apple changed it to make you have to swipe every application. I hate that. So now let's take a look at some apps. Let's take a look at Bubble Breaker Free, which just crashes. Rush Hour Free, which does actually work. It's a pretty good game. Of course, you can get all of these apps for the modern generation iPods. This is kind of a difficult puzzle. Basically, the objective is to get that red car over there. So, that's the objective. Let's quit out of that. Yeah. So, let's go to Pandora, which surprisingly works on the 2nd generation iPod, and as low as 1.2. Or no, it's 3.2.1. I'm getting this confused already. So, as you can see, I am listening to Pandora right now. Not familiar with this song. Unfortunately, one of the problems is, even though it could do it with the music app, it can do it to an extent... oh, this is AC/DC. It can do it to an extent with Pandora, but only for a few seconds. Mega Man 2, if you're familiar with Mega Man, there's not really much to be said. Oh, Cydia. This is actually working Cydia, because I was able to jailbreak it really easily. And I'll show you how. This is what the other tab was. So you type in jailbreakme.com. This only works on older things like this. I think 4.0, this doesn't work anymore. And then they started supporting it again in 4.2.1, but only for like select models, and yeah, I don't know. So, you can slide. It is, of course, quite laggy, but then again, so is the entire iPod. Slide to jailbreak, and it'll come up with, oh, or it'll just crash. That's another thing that could happen. But yeah, it is working, well, barely working Cydia. I can't get it to get past this, but, I don't know, I'm probably gonna have to restore that at some stage. Bust-A-Move and the other Bust-A-Move, which are very good games, and that's about your lot. Now, why didn't I load more apps on this? Well, here's the reason why. Because the majority of the apps in the App Store no longer support this firmware. So, for example, if I wanted to download an application, let's go to categories. Let's go to business. Let's download that application. It is $1.99. It'll prove my point. See, look. This app requires iOS 4.3. And it'll come up with that a lot. It'll come up with iOS, 5.0, 5.1, 6.0 on a very rare occasion. That it will require that. Also forgot to show Spotlight. It is Spotlight. It works the same as it always did. Oh, never mind. I guess you can't search the web or Wikipedia, so I guess that's something that changed. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. But yeah, most of the apps require either iOS 4.3, iOS 5, 5.1, and iOS 6 on a rare occasion. So let's just power that off. And there you go. That is the review, a very long review. Wow, I just looked at the time counter of the iPod Touch 2nd generation. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.